Walrasian context. I consider the Marshallian context, okay, the similar concept will be changed in terms of the demand price and the supply price, okay. So if we consider the equilibrium price and we consider the movement of the price only in the neighborhood, or we consider the equilibrium quantity and we consider the movement of the quantity only in the neighborhood, and we get the Walrasian stability and Marshallian stability conditions to be satisfied, in that case, we will consider the equilibrium as a locally stable equilibrium. Locally stable. In the neighborhood, there is a tendency that if the price is of equilibrium or the quantity is of equilibrium, in that case, there will be some market forces, so that the price can come back to the equilibrium. In case of quantity also, the quantity can come back to the equilibrium. If this happens, in that case, we will consider the concept as local stability. On the other hand, if we find that this condition is always satisfied for all P, this notation indicates for all. So for all P, if we find that this condition holds or the Marshallian stability condition holds, in that case, equilibrium will be considered as globally stable equilibrium. So if this condition is satisfied at and around PE only, in that case, equilibrium will be considered as locally stable equilibrium. And on the other hand, if this condition is satisfied for all P, in that case, the equilibrium will be considered as globally stable equilibrium. In case of local stability, if the initial deviation of price from its equilibrium value is very small, then it will show a tendency to move back to its equilibrium value. Okay, so I mentioned about the neighborhood, and all of you have sense of calculus and you understand what is the meaning of neighborhood. Okay, so in that zone only, if the price fluctuates and has some tendency to move back to the equilibrium, we will call the equilibrium locally stable. In this case, in the second case, this means that however large the deviation of the initial price might be from the equilibrium value, it will tend to move to its equilibrium value. Okay, so in your mathematical economics also, we will talk many points related to the local and the global. Always these two concepts will come: locally optimum, globally optimum. Okay, so local and global concepts will come always, in context of math eco as well. So local means around the equilibrium here, global means for all prices. So with this, I am closing the section on static stability. Okay. Okay. And moving back to the original discussion of demand and supply curves. Okay. So we talked about this equilibrium, no shortage, no surplus, market is cleared. Then we started to talk about the uniqueness and the existence of equilibrium. And finally, we talked about stability of the equilibrium. As I mentioned, here I'll not develop the concept of dynamic stability. I'll develop the concept later in the next semester. Here we talked about the static stability only, and that we discussed in terms of Walrasian stability and the Marshallian stability. Now today, first I'll start with some comparative static results. Okay, so what we will consider: change in supply only, demand remaining constant, or change in demand only, supply remaining constant, and that will result in change in equilibrium. Now we will also consider both demand and supply are changing, and we will look at the results, possible results, So now we are talking about comparative static analysis, in economics, again, there is comparative static as well as comparative dynamics. In this semester, we are not considering comparative dynamics because we are not bringing the time in our analysis. Our discussion will concentrate only around comparative static analysis. It compares the new and the old equilibrium. Okay. However, I'll not consider any pathway. The pathway I'll be able to consider or derive even only if I bring time in the analysis. Now, here there are several possibilities, and you may add several more also looking at your text. So first, I'm considering shift of the demand curve, okay, and taking different comparative static results. That is position of market equilibrium. We will be able to compare the new equilibrium with the old equilibrium. So here there is a case where I'm considering an increase in income. I hope you can remember when I'm talking about the shift of the demand or shift of the supply, we have to consider the change in exogenous determinant of demand and supply. Okay. Both for demand and supply equations, the endogenous determinant is price. When endogenous determinant changes, other things remaining constant, we get movement along the curve. Whereas if exogenous, one of the exogenous determinant changes, other things remaining constant, we get shift of the curve. And this is applicable both for demand and supply. So in the comparative static part, when we are discussing about the shift of the demand or shift of the supply, naturally, we are considering the change in exogenous determinant of the demand. We are considering no change in endogenous determinant of demand or endogenous determinant of supply. So let's consider several cases. The first case, increase in income. Income is one of the very important exogenous determinant of demand. So we are considering that income is increasing. Now, in context of income change, we talked about two types of commodities, normal goods. For the normal goods, as income increases, demand increases. And I mentioned further, I'll discuss this concept when I'll talk to the elasticity. Okay. So, so far, I'm assuming that you have no idea about the elasticity. So I'm not bringing the term elasticity explicitly. I'm just telling one of the exogenous determinant of demand is changing, other things remaining constant. And this determinant is income now. Now there are two types of commodities. The commodities for which as income increases, demand increases are called the normal goods. On the other hand, there are certain commodities in reality for which as income changes, demand falls. For the necessary commodities, basic minimum commodities, this happens. If income increases, demand for this kind of food item like rice and potato, demand for this kind of shelter, demand for this kind of clothing, which are basic minimum, those things fall. The first case is the case where X, the concerned commodity is X, X is considered to be a normal good. So the dark blue is the initial demand curve marked by D naught, and red line is the initial supply curve. So for a normal good, if income increases, there will be a shift of the demand curve to the rightward direction. So demand curve will shift to the rightward direction because X is a normal good. So along with all other commodities in the basket, demand for X will also increase as income increases. So the line demand curve will shift to the rightward direction. And as this happens, we will move from this equilibrium to this equilibrium. Suppose this is E1. So we will move from E1 to E2, both the price of the commodity as well as quantity demanded in the market, both the things are increasing. However, in the second case, for the same context, I'm considering X to be an inferior good. So if X is an inferior good, naturally the direction of shift will be to the leftward direction. So both price of the commodity, equilibrium price, and quantity demanded, that is falling. Supply remaining unchanged. Next, decrease in income and X is a normal good. So for a normal good, as income increases, demand increases. As income decreases, demand decreases. Okay. So proportional relationship between income and demand for the normal good. So if income reduces, naturally this dark blue will shift to the light blue to the leftward direction. And we are finding that equilibrium price quantity are falling compared to the initial equilibrium. Fourth case, decrease in income. However, X is an inferior commodity. For inferior commodity, there is inverse relationship between income and quantity demanded. As income rises, demand falls. So as income falls, decreases, demand will increase, because we will, if income reduces, in that case, I have to spend more on basic minimum requirements. So demand for those kind of commodities will increase. So both the equilibrium price and quantity are increasing. So these are few graphs related to change in demand due to change in income. Price of related commodities or price of other goods was another important determinant of demand. And we talked about substitutes and complementary goods in that context. Here, I'm considering increase in price of X. Increase in the price of a substitute for X. So suppose I'm bringing another commodity Y in the scenario, and suppose X and Y are substitutes to each other, like say tea and coffee. Okay. And in that context, price of Y that has increased. Now price of Y increases, that means there will be a reduction in the demand for Y. And if X and Y are substitutes, that in turn will increase the demand for X, price of X remaining constant. So if the price of substitute increases, then the demand for the concerned commodity will increase. Okay. So in this case, therefore, we are getting a shift of the demand curve from the dark blue to light blue to the rightward direction. Next, I am considering X and Y are complementary to each other. And I am considering increase in price of the complementary good for X. Okay, so now X and Y are complementary to each other, hardware, software. Now, if price of hardware increases too much, naturally we will be not able to buy the personal computers or laptops. We will be not able to buy this, okay, because the item will be very, very expensive. And if we cannot buy that commodity, there will be no demand for the software as well, or the demand for software will fall. Okay, so this is happening here. Price of the complementary good, that is increasing. Okay, price of Y is increasing. That in turn, that will automatically result in reduction in demand for Y, and that in turn is reducing the demand for X, price of X remaining constant, because X and Y should be consumed together. Next, decrease in price of the substitutes for X. If there is a reduction in price of Y, when X and Y are substitutes, naturally people will shift more towards Y, naturally the demand for X will fall. So the demand curve is moving to the leftward direction and equilibrium is changing to this direction. Decrease in the price of complement for X. If there is a reduction in price of the complementary good, immediately the demand for that good will increase, demand for Y will increase, and that in turn will result in increase in demand for X. So these are several possibilities. Now you can draw the similar context considering other exogenous determinants of demand, like, population composition or the demographic situation, taste and preference. Okay, so look at different determinants of demand and you have to apply your mind to understand for, a particular context whether the demand curve will shift to the rightward direction or to the leftward direction. Okay, and supply remaining constant for the different cases, and you will be able to notify what will be the new position of the equilibrium and will be able to explain this. Next, I'm considering shift of the supply curve, position of and the position of the market equilibrium. So
Ma'am,
here,
can you please bring the last page for a minute?
okay, I'll show it. So this,
Just needed to draw one more graph.
you will get it from your texts, okay? However, I'll show it. So the blue one is the demand curve, okay? And this dark red S0 is the initial supply curve. Blue is the demand curve and S0 is the initial supply curve. Okay. Now, again, just like the demand, I can consider some cases for the supply as well. However, here too, you need to remember that you have to consider the change in exogenous determinant of demand. Endogenous determinant will give you the movement along the curve. Here for the comparative statics, we are not considering any change in the endogenous determinant. Rather, here our entire exercise will consider change in one of the exogenous determinants of either demand or supply or both. Now, cost of production, which is based on raw materials or technology, so that is important in context of supply. So if we find there is an increase in cost of production, that may be because of increase in price of technology, okay, because technology for technology, either you have to invest in your own firm, you should have R&D unit, or you have to buy the patent or copyright from the person or the organization who invented the technology. So suppose because the technology is becoming expensive, cost of production is increasing, or price of raw materials are increasing, or wage rate is increasing, and for that matter, cost of production is increasing. For any reason, if there is an increase in cost of production, in that case, the supply curve will shift to the leftward direction. Supply curve will shift to the leftward direction from dark red to light red. Okay. And as we are getting that, again from E1, suppose this is E1 or E0, better, E0, we will shift to E1. Price is increasing. In that case, price of the commodity will increase, price of X will increase. However, the demand for X will fall. Okay, price of X is increasing, and for that matter, demand for X1 is falling. The similar concept, just the reverse, decrease in cost of production. Okay, technology is now very much available, or some of the raw materials because of some reasons are becoming less expensive. Because of any reason, if the cost of production falls, in that case the supply curve will shift to the rightward direction. So price of the commodity will fall, and naturally the quantity demanded will increase. Okay, so somebody wants to draw the last diagram, please do it. Next, we will go for the context where simultaneously we will consider the change in demand as well as change in supply. Simultaneously, we will consider a change in demand as well as a change in supply. So there you will find that the situation is not unambiguous like all these cases. In that case, whether there will be any change in equilibrium price or any change in equilibrium quantity, that will totally depend on the stretch of the shift of the demand and stretch of the shift of the supply. Okay, so relative amount of shift of the demand curve and or relative amount of shift of the supply curve will determine whether there will be any change in equilibrium price or equilibrium quantity, or price is not changing, only quantity is changing, quantity is not changing, however price is changing. All possibilities are there. So dual shifts in supply and demand. When supply and demand change simultaneously, the impact on the equilibrium price and quantity is determined by the size and the direction of the changes and the slope of two curves. So it will depend on direction and the size of change in quantity demanded, quantity supplied, and it will also depend on the slope of whether the demand curve is very steep, whether the supply curve is very steep, or demand curve is very flat, supply curve is steep, or both the demand and supply are very flat, So just completing this, we will move to the idea of elasticity. So, flatter curve, steeper curve, giving this kind of elasticity, that concept will be clearer when we will move to that part. Okay, so this is the scenario if I consider the dual shift. Now look at the first diagram. D1 and S1, the black two lines, are the initial demand and supply curves with the initial equilibrium E1. E1 is the initial equilibrium where the D1, D1 and S1, S1 are cutting each other and generating the market clearing equilibrium E1. So P is the market clearing price and this is the quantity corresponding to that. Suppose this is Q or beta Q1. Now, if I simply consider a shift of the demand curve, suppose it is a normal good and income of the consumer has increased. So we will get this one. In that case, the new equilibrium will be settled here where the D2, D2 is cutting S1, S1. And this will be the equilibrium price and quantity combination. Alternatively, if I keep the demand curve as it is, and because of cheaper raw materials, suppose cost of production is falling and the supply curve is shifting to this direction, to the rightward direction. So demand remaining constant, if supply increases, in that case, price will fall to this level. So what we are finding, if supply remaining constant, demand increases, price goes up. Alternatively, if demand remaining constant, supply shifts to the rightward direction, price falls compared to the equilibrium level. However, if I consider this much change in demand with this slope of the demand curve and this much change in supply with this particular slope of the demand supply curve, in that case, economy is moving to a new equilibrium E2. However, both E1 and E2 correspond to the same price POP. correspond to the same price P. So market price, both the demand and the supply curves are changing, However, the market price will remain constant at this level. The total quantity demanded and supplied, that, however, will change to this amount. This is one possibility. We are considering simultaneous change in demand and supply curves. Equilibrium is shifting from E1 to E2. However, the breadth and the slopes of the demand and supply curves are suggesting price will remain fixed at the initial level, whereas quantity demanded and supplied, that will shift to this amount. U2 say. Now, if we move to the second diagram, what we are finding that the blue set is indicating the initial equilibrium E1. So it is the cross point of S1 and D1. Now, for the same reason, supply curve is shifting to the rightward direction. This is S2, S2. And demand curve is also shifting to the rightward direction given by D2, D2. E2 is the new equilibrium. So if the change of the demand and supply follow the rules which I have considered here, we are finding that equilibrium price is falling. However, both equilibrium demand and supply, that is increasing compared to the initial amount. So all possibilities are there. Now, if you consider the shift with different breadth, different slopes, maybe for the same thing, there will be an increase in price, reduction in quantity. So all possibilities are there. Okay. So we will be not able to state anything unambiguously. So always it will change, always, the change of equilibrium price and quantity will depend on size and the direction of the changes and the slope of the two curves. Okay, so this is all about the comparative static parts, and now we will move towards the notion of elasticity of demand and elasticity of supply. Any question in this part? Understood everything clearly?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes or no? Other students?
Yes, ma'am, understood.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Good, because this is not at all difficult. In the mathematical part, Zadeej has started the elasticity part.
Ma'am, he taught us
No, ma'am.
today. Quasi-quantum
Okay. So elasticity has not started. Okay. Because, both in the mathematical part as well as the micro part, we talk about the elasticity. In mathematical part, you will concentrate more on solving the problems here. The focus will be on the idea of elasticity. Okay. And later when we will consider some external intervention, you will be able to notify how the volume of intervention depends on the elasticity of demand, elasticity of supply, etc. Okay, so let's start discussing the notion of elasticities of demand and supply curves. We will first start with elasticities of demand, and here we will consider three cases: change in own price of the commodity, which will give us own price elasticity of demand, which simply we consider as elasticity of demand. If we just say elasticity of demand, that means this elasticity is with respect to change in price of the concerned commodity. there will be the second concept, which is known as cross price elasticity of demand. Cross price elasticity will be based on other things remaining constant, change in the price of Y, that is price of the other commodity. The concerned commodity is X. What will be the elasticity of demand if price of Y changes? This is known as cross price elasticity of demand, cross price. The third concept will be income elasticity of demand. Income elasticity of demand. Okay. So own price elasticity of demand, which is simply price elasticity of demand. Second, cross price elasticity of demand. Third, income elasticity of demand. Okay. So let's first start with own price elasticity of demand. Now, before going to that, what is meant by elasticity? Now, if you didn't do any economics earlier, however, you are familiar with the term elastic. A thing is elastic means if you give some external pressure to it, you will be able to extend it. And if you just stop giving the pressure, it will come back to the earlier position. Okay. So this is the idea of elasticity. You know, if you give something from outside, some pressure from outside, how far the system will change. Okay. How far the system will change. So this is the idea. So elasticity measures how one variable responds to a change in an other variable. Namely, the percentage change in one variable resulting a 1% change in another variable. Okay. So if suppose I have X and Px, X is quantity demanded, Px is the price of X. If Px changes, how quantity demanded responses to it, or quantity supplied responses to it, or if price of Y changes, how quantity demanded for X responses to it, or if income of the incumbent changes, how quantity demanded responses to it. In the entire concept of elasticity, we will consider the percentage change. That is percentage change in demand due to percentage change in price. Percentage change in demand due to percentage change in price of the other commodities. Percentage change in demand due to percentage change in income of the incumbent. Why we do this? Because price of X and price of Y may be measured using different units. Income may be measured using another different units. Quantity and price, these two things are measured using different units of measurement. So to avoid the effect of unit changes when I'm moving from one variable to other, we will consider percentage change. We do not want to bring the effect of any scale here. So to avoid the effect of any kind of scale, we will consider percentage changes. Okay, so in this section or in this chapter 2, actually chapter 1 is over. Chapter 1 was demand, supply, the idea of demand and supply. You know, the notion of market equilibrium, existence, uniqueness, and the stability of the equilibrium, and comparative static results. So now we are moving towards chapter 2. In chapter 2, we will talk about price elasticity of demand, income elasticity of demand, cross price elasticity of demand, and we will consider a comparison of elasticity over short run and long run. I hope by this
Ma'am, I
time,
have a doubt.
I'll come to that. I hope by this time you have some idea about the short run and the long run. Okay, short run and the long run. Do you know what is meant by short run? What is meant by long run? SM ma'am discussed it.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so anyone, what is the difference between the short run and the long run? Anyone, please go ahead.
In the short run,
Yes, yeah. I am not understanding who is telling. The girl who is telling.
ma'am, in
Please
the
continue.
short run, all only one factor remains variable, and we can only change that, and other factors are fixed. Whereas in long run, all the factors became variable and they can be changed.
Yeah, very good. Okay, so
That
here,
is, the capital remains constant in short run, and only
yeah,
labor is variable.
yeah.
And in long run,
However,
both
you are
labor and
defining.
capital.
However, when you are defining it, you are only considering the context of production. That in the short run, only labor is a variable factor. Rest of the factors remain constant. In the long run, all the factors of production will be variable. When you are telling the matter in this way, implicitly you are assuming as if it is the context of production. However, both for the context of consumption and production, the idea of short run and the long run are similar. In context of consumption, in the short run, you can vary only one commodity. Rest of the commodities or most of the commodities in the basket will remain unchanged. Whereas in the long run, you can change the commodity and you can change the volume of the commodities as well. So short run is essentially a concept, when most of the variables we are considering remain constant, only a few variables are changeable. Long run is a concept when all the variables are changeable. Okay, somebody has some doubt? Yes, please. Somebody has some doubt? Had some
Yes, ma'am.
question?
I was asking that was optimization allocation and that economic measurement not chapter one.
Hmm. Hmm.
So like demand should have been chapter two.
Actually, the first section where we considered, the pathway or the journey of the entire economics, and what are the units of measurement, numerical, all these things are introductory chapter. Okay, so you can
Oh,
consider that as chapter O. So chapter O is that introduction to the concept of microeconomics. Okay, and the first chapter you can consider the demand supply equilibrium, etc., and elasticity can be considered as the second chapter. Okay,
yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
okay, so let's start discussing the concept of own price elasticity, cross price elasticity, income elasticity one by one. We are starting with own price elasticity of demand. So responsiveness of quantity demanded to change in own price of the commodity, other determinants of demand remaining constant. Now, like any other scientific experiment in context of economics too, you have to run an experiment only in a ceteris paribus context. Other ceteris paribus means other things remaining constant. Because if you consider all the things are varying simultaneously, in that case, we will be not able to understand the impact of one. In reality, it's true, many of the factors are varying simultaneously. However, when we are developing the theoretical concepts, we will consider a change in one, keeping rest of the elements fixed. we call it a ceteris paribus context, or other things remaining constant. Okay, so in this entire discussion of elasticity, when I'll vary one particular component, I'll keep rest of the determinants to remain unchanged. Here I am considering a change in the endogenous determinant of demand. So there will be a change in the endogenous determinant only, and all exogenous determinants of demand will remain fixed. So given a particular income level of the incumbent, given price of Y, Z are this, given this is the taste and preference of the incumbent, given the age and the gender of the incumbent, given the geographical location of the incumbent, suppose price of the concerned commodity X, that is changing. Okay, so in a ceteris paribus condition, price of the concerned commodity is changing, and own price elasticity of demand indicates responsiveness of quantity demanded to this change in price of the commodity. Price elasticity of demand can be presented by the notation small e, and later I'll come to this sign, and it is defined as percentage change in quantity demanded due to percentage change in price. Percentage change in quantity demanded due to percentage change in price. I already told you why I am considering percentage change. Percentage change is considered to avoid the differences in scales by which we measure the demand, by which we measure the price. Okay, so to avoid the effect of unit of measurement, we are considering percentage changes. Then why I am multiplying this concept by -1? Why minus sign is here? That means I am multiplying this ratio by -1. Why I am doing so? Now, while we considered conventional demand curve, we found that there is an inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded. There is an inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded. Okay. So if I consider percentage change in quantity demanded divided by percentage change in price, that will be conventionally -1, because there is an inverse relation between price and quantity demanded. Okay. Now, we also want that the idea of elasticity will be free of any direction of measurement. Plus and minus tells us about the direction. Okay, that is whether the two variables are proportionally related, whether the two variables are inversely related. All these things, the sign tells us. So actually here we want to consider the absolute value of the elasticity. We want that the notion of elasticity will be free from unit of measurement. Okay, and for that matter, since always the default measure is negative here, we are multiplying this by -1 so that we can get the absolute value of the own price elasticity of demand. Okay, so we are multiplying this by -1. Okay, so this minus will be continued. Percentage change in quantity demanded can be presented by del x by x. I'm considering partial derivatives, because there are many other determinants of demand, and for that matter, I'm using the partial derivative. Okay, so del x by x into 100, because of percentage change, I have to multiply this by 100, and change always should be measured with respect to the initial amount. So del x by x into 100 divided by del px by px into 100. So if 100 cancel, in that case, del x by x by del px by px, which can be adjusted and can be written in this format. del x by del px into px by x, del x by del px into px by x. Okay, so this is the value of own price elasticity of demand, or you can say this is the formula for measuring own price elasticity of demand. So any question regarding the formulation of the concept?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, about the negative part,
Yes. What's your question?
uh, I didn't get that, ma'am.
Okay. So by default, we are considering this kind of curve. Negatively sloped demand curve. The demand curve is negatively sloped. That you are getting? The demand curve is negatively sloped conventionally?
Yes, ma'am.
Which means if we consider, say, del Q by del P, you know, in that case, it should be negative.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, if there is inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded, so by default del x by del px, that is negative. Got the point?
Yes, ma'am.
So now what we want this value. Okay, so we want that the measure, this measure should be it will be free of any sign or direction of measurement. Okay, which means we want the absolute value of the elasticity. So if by default always it gives the negative sign, to get the absolute value of the elasticity, to make it free of any direction of measurement, what we have to do? We have to multiply the concept by -1. Okay, because default sign is, dq by dp is negative. So this is the default sign. So if we want to make the notion free of any direction, we have to multiply the concept by -1. Are you getting the point now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. I get that.
Ma'am, one thing, in any case, can the natural value of the E without placing the mod, can it be, ma'am, positive in any case? Or it will
Yeah,
always be
yeah,
negative?
yeah. Conventional demand curve is negatively sloped, conventional demand curve is negatively sloped. And when we develop this theoretical concept, we proceed with the conventional demand curve. However, as we proceed further, you will find that there are commodities which we call the GFN goods. For them, the demand curve may be positively sloped. Already in context of Snob effect, especially in context of Veblen effect, we considered a demand curve, market demand curve, which may be positively sloped. If, consumers judge the quality by price, in that case, there it is possible that the demand curve may be positively sloped. Okay,
Okay, ma'am.
it can be. Under certain circumstances, it can be positively sloped. However, the conventional, in general, the demand curve is negatively sloped. Okay.
Ma'am,
Yes.
here the change quantity demanded. Why we did not do the subtraction from the final to initial?
Yeah. I think you did some economics at +2 level.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, good. Generally we will not consider that. We will follow, since you know the calculus, and here We will apply calculus both in case of mathematical as well as micro and macroeconomics. We are not considering the change using the capital delta sign, taking the difference in. We are not doing that. We are using the calculus. These are the tools we are using. So we are not using any algebra here, difference, etc. We are considering in terms of calculus, assuming that x is a continuous variable with respect to price. Change in demand is continuous with respect to price. Okay. We are applying calculus here. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Concept is same. The concept is same. You can consider A minus B divided by change in price in terms of PX minus this. Okay, we will not follow that. We are not following that particular way of formulation. Rather, we are doing the same thing using the calculus. You know the notion of tan theta. You know know how you can measure tan theta using calculus. So you know all these things. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I think now I can proceed. Okay. Now, what I am written here, if the demand is price elastic at a particular price, demand is price elastic at a particular point, in that case, the absolute value of the elasticity should be greater than 1. Okay. Actually, we multiply the concept by -1 so that, we can understand these concepts very well. Otherwise, always there will be a minus sign. So if the absolute value of the own price elasticity is greater than 1, we will consider the demand as price elastic. On the other hand, if we find that the absolute value of the elasticity is less than 1, in that case, the demand is price inelastic. And if it is equal to 1, the demand is unitary elastic. Okay, so using the notion of own price elasticity of demand, we can divide the commodities into 3 categories. Demand is price elastic if the absolute value of the elasticity is greater than 1. Price inelastic if the absolute value of the elasticity at certain price, remember at a particular price, is less than 1. And at a particular price, the demand will be unitary elastic is the value, mod value of the elasticity is exactly equal to 1. Okay. Now there are 2 other concepts, perfectly elastic demand and perfectly inelastic demand. Okay. Now, when E is greater than 1, we are calling the demand price elastic. Now, if it moves towards infinity, if it moves, the value is very high. From greater than 1, the idea is elastic. And now, if it gets the extreme value, that is, if it moves towards infinity, in that case, we will consider the demand as perfectly elastic. Alternatively, here, if mod E is less than 1, we are considering the demand to be price inelastic. However, if the value is equal to 0, if the value is mod value is equal to 0, in that case, we will consider the demand as perfectly inelastic demand. Perfectly inelastic. Here only inelastic. Here only elastic. However, if elasticity moves towards infinity, it will be considered as perfectly elastic. And if E is equal to 0, in that case, it will be considered as perfectly inelastic. when a small change in price leads to an infinite reaction on the part of the consumer, essentially del x by del px tends towards infinity. So px is changing a little bit. However, the reaction is too much. Nobody is, px suppose is increasing just a bit. However, change in demand is too much. Change in demand is too much. Everybody is trying to shift to the other commodity. Okay. Or px is decreasing a bit. Everybody is coming towards this commodity. So change in demand with respect to change in price is too much. For a small change in price, if demand changes drastically, in that case, elasticity will move towards infinity. On the other hand, because of change in price, if there is no change in quantity demanded, price is changing either to the upward or to the downward direction. However, the demand is not changing at all. In that case, the demand will be considered as perfectly inelastic demand. Okay, so the perfectly inelastic demand curve shows a zero reaction in quantity bought to a price change. That is del x by del px is equal to 0. That is E is tending towards infinity. So this is an example of perfectly inelastic demand. Here I can change the price to this, to this, to this, However, the demand remains fixed at this particular level. So price is changing, however, no response of demand with respect to that price change. Okay. So in that case, demand is perfectly inelastic. This means that commodity is very, very important to us. Whatever be the price, I have to use this amount, I have to use this amount. On the other hand, if you look at the second diagram, price remaining constant, the demand can change. The demand can change from this to this to this, So if this happens at a particular price, quantity demanded can increase, decrease, In that case, the demand curve will become perfectly flat, given by this line. Now, if I consider two negatively sloped demand curve, steeper curve is considered to be less elastic. And when it becomes vertical, now, just a minute. This is more inelastic. This is almost a straight line, and then it can become this straight line. Okay. So this is relatively inelastic. Steeper the curve, inelastic the demand. And flatter the curve, elastic the demand. Now it may be very flat, and then it may become horizontal. It means that, there are close substitutes for this commodity. If price changes a bit, there will be a drastic change in demand. On the other hand, the commodities for which there will be no close substitutes, in that case, whatever be the price, you will reduce consumption of other commodities, however, you will maintain this amount of the commodity. So this is the thing. Price is increasing. However, I have to maintain this amount. I have to buy this amount because this is very essential to me. So this is the idea. So steeper curve gives the inelastic demand compared to a flatter curve. Flatter curve gives more elastic demand. Okay, more elastic means response of quantity changes with respect to a very small change in price is very high. On the other hand, inelastic means price is changing a lot. However, demand is not changing that much. Okay, so this is the idea of elastic and inelastic demand. Any question? Okay, so please do the numerics, you will get the idea. We are considering a demand curve given by, say, Q as a function of P is equal to 8 minus 2P. 8 minus 2P. In the first case, price changes from 2 to 1. That means there is a reduction in price. Then price elasticity of demand we have to calculate. Okay, so price changes from 2 to 1. So the formula was del Q by Q divided by del P by P. Okay, del X by X divided by del P by P. Okay, now del Q, change in quantity, we have to consider. When the price was 2, what is the quantity demanded? First you find out that. So please write down. When P is equal to 2, Q is equal to, what will be the Q?
4.
4. Very good. When P is equal to 2, in that case Q is equal to 4. Now when P is equal to 1, Q is equal to
6. 6.
6. Okay. So del Q is equal to
2.
change in quantity is equal to 2. 6 minus 4 is equal to 2. So del Q by Q, that will be 2 by 4. Initial amount is 4 when price was 2. And the sign is positive because demand increases by 2 units when price falls by 1 unit. Now next, delta P, price reduces by 1 unit. So minus 1. Original price was 2. So if we put all these values here, we are getting the price elasticity to be minus 1. So absolute value of the price elasticity is 1. And would you tell me whether the commodity is elastic, inelastic, or unitary elastic?
Unitary.
Unitary, ma'am.
Unitary elastic. Very good. The demand at price 1 is unitary elastic, or you can say price 2 is unitary elastic. Better to say 1 because price has changed to 1. Next, suppose the reverse direction. Initial price was 1 and now it increases to 2. Initial price was 1, now it increases to 2. So at initial price, what is the quantity demanded? 6. So when P is equal to 1, Q is equal to 6. When P is equal to 2, Q is equal to 4. So here change in quantity is minus 2. Initial quantity is 6. Change in P is plus 1. Initial price is 1. So the elasticity is minus 1 by 3. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Everybody, I hope, could complete this.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Now I'll discuss the notion of point price elasticity of demand. Okay, so today I'll stop with the idea of point price elasticity of demand. Okay. Now, to understand the idea of point price elasticity of demand, use the board, okay? First, we need to understand the idea of point price elasticity of demand. So what do you have to do? Just draw this demand curve in your copy. Draw a demand curve. And mark any point on it. Okay, any point. And then you drop perpendicular from that point on the vertical axis and on the horizontal axis. Drop perpendicular on the vertical axis and horizontal axis like this. Let me check the NKM. K is the point. In this direction, we are measuring Q, price. We are considering this angle to be theta. Okay. So let's consider any point K on the demand curve D prime, where D prime is a conventional negatively sloped demand curve. Okay, and then we are dropping perpendicular Kn along the vertical axis and Km along the horizontal axis. Okay, so I'll request you to note down all these points, what we are doing, what are the steps. Please note down all these things. Do I need to repeat anything, or you could write everything? Okay. Now the value of the elasticity, that is defined by this is the definition we have considered. Okay. Now if you look at del Q by del P, here along the vertical axis following the Marshallian convention, we are considering P, and following the Marshallian convention along the horizontal axis, we are measuring P. Okay. Now, if Q is a function of P, tan theta will be generally, what will be the value of the tan theta? If P is a function of Q, if I have theta here, what is tan theta in terms of, if this is theta, what is tan theta in general? In terms of perpendicular and base, you tell me.
DO by OQ.
Q by D dash.
Prime. OD by OD prime. Okay. Okay.
Yes,
So tan theta is basically, because you are telling this is okay. So here basically in the elasticity definition, if I want to use this concept, it is now at K, the price is given by and quantity is given by so please check whether you are understanding everything here. Any question? Okay.
Ma'am, just wait a minute.
Yeah. Done? Now I'll consider the properties of the similar triangle. Okay. Now, if you look at this diagram, if I consider the big, triangle, biggest triangle, OD prime, that is similar to DNK. And again, that is similar to KMD prime. Okay. So, what we are finding that this big triangle OD prime, that is similar to this, that is similar to this. Again, these two triangles are also similar to each other. So everybody is getting that?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
ODD prime, that is similar to DNK, that is similar to KMD prime, and DNK is similar to KMD prime. Okay. So now first, if okay, so OD prime just a minute. Okay. And these two triangles are also similar. So using this, we can write so since DNK and KMD prime are similar, everything is okay to all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, in this formula, just let me use. Now in this formula, O n I'm replacing by O n I am replacing by Km, and O m I am replacing by Nk. Now OD prime, that can be also replaced by Is it okay? So applying the properties of similar triangle, OD prime by OD has been replaced by NK by OD. And then adjusting NK and NK in numerator and denominator, we are getting the value to be Km by OD. Everybody is here? Km by OD. Is it okay to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Now I am going here. Can I write this using the properties of the similar triangle? Km by OD. That means this entire thing, this by this, will it be better to all of you if I write as Km by OD is equal to Km by Dn and that is equal to Kd prime by Kd? I think that will be easier. So in between, you put this Km by OD is equal to Km by Dn is equal to Kd prime by Kd or dk. Clear, or any question that I need to answer? So what I did, first I considered this by this. We are considering this triangle and this triangle. Okay. So
Ma'am,
by this equal to can be written as this by this, since the triangles are similar. Yes. Yes.
ma'am, the part OD dash by OD is NK by OD. That part, ma'am, please.
Km by OD is equal to Km by Dn.
No, ma'am, OD dash by OD, then we write it as NK by OD.
Okay. OD dash. That means by OD. Now OD I am replacing by, sorry, OD prime I am replacing by NK. So this big triangle DOD prime, okay, that is similar to this small one, DNK. This is similar to this. So this entire OD by DN is exactly equal to OD prime by NK. So OD prime by OD can be placed by NK by DN.
Yes, ma'am. NK by DN.
NK by. It's very difficult to write in the keyboard sometimes. Okay, so if I maintain Km by Dn here, we are actually at this point.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Just a minute. So separately, I don't need to equate it. So directly I'll be able to write this. Yeah, somebody else had some first, the first boy who marked these, this is now okay to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, now the second question. Somebody else had some question?
Ma'am, I was just saying that can you repeat what you just said because I missed it because I got disconnected.
In which part, You look at the steps. If there is any problem, you mark it and then I'll repeat that part. I first defined the elasticity and came up to OD prime by OD into ON by OM. Then I went to this part where I'm considering the similar triangles. So using the idea of similar triangles, ultimately I have changed the ratio to Km by Dn, and then again applying the property of similar triangle, I am writing Km by Dn is equal to Kd prime by Dk. So which part you missed?
Okay, ma'am. Then I can do it. Okay.
Okay, so this part is there. So what I am finally finding, is that I am getting elasticity is finally equal to this part, because this is Kd prime divided by this part. Everybody is getting this? Finally, I am getting elasticity at K is equal to lower part of the demand curve starting from K, that is Kd prime, divided by upper part given by Kd. So at K, own price elasticity of demand is becoming lower part of the demand curve, Kd prime, divided by Kd. Are you getting this? This idea is called the idea of point price elasticity of demand. Point price. Point means at a particular point along the demand curve I am considering, and I am showing that at any point along the demand curve, the elasticity will be the lower part divided by upper part. If I, instead of K here, if I consider the position of K, suppose at this point, suppose this is K, in that case, elasticity will be this part divided by this part. If I consider K here, elasticity will be, I have to consider the lower part. So there is no lower part at all. So it will be 0 by the upper part. Now, if I come here, there is the lower part. However, there is no upper part. So this lower part divided by 0. So all these values can be generated along the demand curve using the definition that elasticity at any point on the demand curve is nothing but lower part of the demand curve divided by upper part of the demand curve. Okay, so you have to understand this formulation, and then we will understand at any point along a demand curve, we can measure elasticity as the lower portion divided by upper portion. And in this way, if we graphically present the own price elasticity along a demand curve, we call it the notion of point price elasticity of demand. Point price elasticity of demand. Okay, now coming back to the slide, if I consider K here at the middlemost position, elasticity value will be equal to 1, exactly equal to 1. If I consider the modulus value, absolute value, the elasticity value will be equal to 1. For this portion, elasticity value will be less than 1, because what is the elasticity value? I'm writing here. So if K is the middlemost point, lower part equal to upper part, and the value will be equal to 1. Now, if I consider K here, suppose this is K. In that case, lower part is lesser compared to the upper part. So lower, if suppose this is K1. At K1, lower part is less than upper part. So what will be the value of elasticity? Less than 1 or greater than 1? Elasticity less than 1 or greater than 1 at K1?
Less than 1.
Less than 1. Because lower stretch is less than upper stretch. Alternatively, if I consider any point here, say K2, elasticity greater than 1 or less than 1?
Greater than 1, ma'am.
Greater than 1, because this stretch is far greater than this part. Okay, so what we are finding that starting from middlemost point in this lower part, elasticity is less than 1. So demand is inelastic. In this upper part, E is greater than 1. So demand is elastic. Now coming at this point, suppose this is K3. At K3, is there any upper part?
Yes, ma'am.
The entire part is the upper part. Okay. And is there any lower part?
No, ma'am.
So 0 by So at K3, when the demand curve is cutting the horizontal axis, elasticity value is equal to 0. And this is say K4. When the demand curve is cutting the vertical axis. Is there a lower part at K4?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Upper part?
No, ma'am.
Something by 0 means infinity. Okay. So if I consider any straight line conventional demand curve, elasticity varies at different prices along the demand curve. If it is a middlemost point, elasticity is 1. If it is a point in between, above the middlemost point, E is greater than 1. If it is below the middlemost point, E is less than 1. And at the two extremes, that is, if it cuts the vertical axis, elasticity is infinity. If it cuts the horizontal axis, elasticity is 0. So along a straight line demand curve, price elasticity of demand or point price elasticity of demand varies in between 0 to infinity. Okay, so please note it down. Along a straight line demand curve, the point price elasticity varies between 0 to infinity. Any question on point price elasticity? Okay, so next day we will start from this point. We will start from this point, regarding this. Okay. Can you tell me who are the people absent? Okay, I'm calling. Mayantika?
Present, ma'am.
Manzoor Alam? Shumit?
Present, ma'am.
Prachi?
Present, ma'am.
Pranjali?
Present, ma'am.
Pema Durjoy?
Yes, ma'am.
Anmol?
Present, ma'am.
Dipangshu?
Present, ma'am.
Anir?
Present, ma'am.
Saina?
Present, ma'am.
Omal? Shopnil?
Present, ma'am.
Okay, Shopnil. After that, Bornini?
Present, ma'am.
Shreya?
Present, ma'am.
Shomodeep?
Present, ma'am.
Boibhav? Mazalam? Riprodaman?
Present, ma'am.
Orpon?
Present, ma'am.
Trishita?
Present, ma'am.
Shomdev?
Present, ma'am.
Vishakha?
Present, ma'am.
Srishti?
Present, ma'am.
Rosbin?
Present, ma'am.
Kushi?
Present, ma'am.
Adrijit?
Present, ma'am.
Ankush?
Present, ma'am.
Sanu,
Present, ma'am.
Shayani,
Present, ma'am.
Niladri,
Yes, ma'am.
Dhriti,
Present, ma'am.
Mohor,
Present, ma'am.
Rupatha,
Present, ma'am.
Akila,
Present, ma'am.
Deboshmita,
Present, ma'am.
Shreyoshi,
Present, ma'am.
Oindrila,
Present, ma'am.
Sritama,
Present, ma'am.
Parthiv, Upashana,
Present, ma'am.
Shreyansh,
Present, ma'am.
Sauraja,
Present, ma'am.
Shantoni,
Present, ma'am.
Chopin,
Present, ma'am.
Didusha.
Present, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So Friday is a holiday. It will be better if I can adjust the class with some